MATEUS Fernandes a bid incoming. It seems that Manchester United have decided who the second target's going to be, and we're going to look into this story. One of the interesting things about this is that Sully talks on Twitter. He doesn't post very often, and he's been posting this morning, just about an hour ago, saying Manchester United, they always expected that Anderson would be going to Manchester City, and they're planning to go for MATEUS Fernandes. And I got a few other sources as well saying that they think it's like pretty much that Man United might have a clear path. It looks like the other teams that were interested are maybe not as interested as we thought, and maybe this is going to be one of those deals where it's just Manchester United and West Ham United now. I don't think we're going to have massive competition anymore. I think it looks like it's going to be Manchester United and West Ham's deal to sort out. And we're at the table, we're discussing a deal now. This is coming from Fabrizio as well, also as well as Sully Talks and other sources saying the same sort of thing now. Manchester United, this is official talks. It's not speculation anymore. It's going to be Man United deciding how much money are we going to offer for MATEUS Fernandes. Are we going to get this deal done relatively quickly? We know that West Ham are going to be trying to get the best possible price. We've always known that. And it looks like one by one, the other teams that might be interested in MATEUS Fernandes are not going to go for him. So I'll go through the chat as well and let me know what you're thinking regarding this story. So if you're able to share the stream, absolute bonus as well. That's massively appreciated. Big up to you, Rob. Good to see you in the chat. And Yali, good to see you as well. And Jim in the comments as well. So I hope everybody's having a good Friday morning. A bit of an earlier stream today. We usually do 1 p.m., but a bit of an earlier stream because I got other family commitments today. But we're going to go through the story and also Sully Talks. I actually spoke to Sully Talks and we might be having him as a guest on the channel. We did say let's say when the transfer window is open and the World Cup's on and news is starting to come out thick and fast, I will get back in touch with Sully and see what time works for him and see if we can get him as a semi-regular guest on the channel, which I think would be really good to get some information as well that's like very credible sources as well. But Yari's saying United look to take two players from Arsenal, so you're going to get cake today. So Edison and Fernandez. Then was Edison linked to Arsenal? I can't actually remember that. I thought it was like pretty much Man United, Atletico Madrid. But I'll go through a couple of the different stories regarding MATEUS Fernandes and say what journalists are saying about this one. We know that Study Talks is saying that Man United have prioritised this ever since we pretty much decided that we weren't going to be winning the race for Anderson. So I think it makes a lot of sense. And this story is coming out from journalists as well in the UK. It's saying that MATEUS Fernandes is not a priority target for Real Madrid. And I think most of us thought that too many stays, MATEUS Fernandes is not going to be a top target for Madrid. So I don't think we're surprised by that. And good to hear it coming out in the media, I suppose, as well. But also, like Real Madrid's interest was definitely hyped up by the agent of MATEUS Fernandes. Like we know Mendes has been doing a massive campaign trying to like talk of interest from Real Madrid. It looks like Real Madrid have got other priorities, and it looks like Real Madrid are heavily linked to a few other players as well. And I'm guessing they might be spending quite big. I don't think they're going to be looking at MATEUS Fernandes this window. They're going to be looking at other targets for the rest of their team. So I think this is something that we always suspected was going to be the thing. You never know with Real Madrid. They are obviously interested in a lot of different players, and again, there's a lot of media around Madrid. So I would probably say a good thing for Man United fans that we don't hear too much more about that one. And also, this story, which I thought was interesting, is that they're saying Manchester United are beating Arsenal in this race. So this, I suppose, it depends on how do you like. Do you think that Arsenal were in a serious race regarding this one as well? This is something I haven't really seen too much, to be honest. I haven't really seen too much regarding Arsenal. I think Arsenal were definitely interested and at the table, but I don't think Arsenal have ever been. So it was talked about. So I remember mentioning this probably about a month ago, maybe a bit longer. And at the time, I said, look, Arsenal are interested, but MATEUS Fernandes, if he stays in the Premier League, he's always prioritised Manchester United. So again, this is like nothing to do with like saying Arsenal are in a better place than Man United for sure at the moment. But I think MATEUS Fernandes, I think a big factor is probably the links to Bruno Fernandes. And I know people look at that as going to be okay, what if Bruno Fernandes actually left? I don't think Bruno Fernandes is going to leave the club at this point in time, considering what's happened over the last 12 months. But maybe with MATEUS Fernandes, on the periphery of the Portuguese national team. We got Dallo, we got Bruno Fernandes. I think it would be a good move for him at the moment, actually. If you consider he could be playing behind Bruno for Portugal and then playing behind Bruno for Manchester United, I think that could be actually pretty key as well. So maybe that's going to make the transition and jump because let's be honest, it's a massive jump from West Ham to Manchester United in terms of like pressure, in terms of expectation. I mean, Matheus Fernandes can be the best player in West Ham, and he still probably went under the radar for a lot of fans until recently. So again, this is why I think at United, he's got to make a sensible decision, and maybe that's one of the factors. So I think it could be one of the factors. So let me go through a few of the comments as well. Big up to you guys in the chat. I said, yeah, I spoke to Solly probably about a month ago actually, and he said let's talk about it in June. Obviously, I've got a few things going on in June at the moment, but I will speak to him hopefully next week and try and get him on. Big up to you, Andy. So Edison, who've been linked to for years. Yeah, we've been linked to Edison for years. Like I'm not going to say Edison's an exciting signing, am I? First, so again, I don't think is Matheus Fernandes incredibly exciting. I'm wondering whether at the moment if you're expecting a signing that's going to be wow, I don't know if we're going to get that. I don't think we're going to be getting like a Tchouaméni, an Elliot Anderson. I'm trying to think of other signings that make Man United fans go, actually, this is a bit crazy. I don't think we're going to be going for any sort of Galactico signings. I think we're going to be doing exactly what we did last summer. And last summer we got Mbeumo and Cunha. They're really good Premier League players, aren't they? And Sesko is an up and coming, exciting player. But we didn't go for someone that would be more eye catching. Like we didn't go for an Isak. We didn't land Gyökeres. I'm trying to think of other. Was there other targets we're linked to that would have been more exciting? I think this transfer window, it might be similar in regard to. I don't think we're going to spend above £70 million on a player. I think there's going to be this cap, whether we think there is a cap or not. I think there definitely seems to be with Man United's transfers, like 60 to 70 was what players cost last window, say last summer. I think we're going to be doing something similar as well. D-Hex says, depends if we're working with Mendes to get the deal done. We're about to open negotiations with West Ham. I think it's going to be a mixture of both. Like with Matheus Fernandes, clearly Mendes wants the best possible for his client and the best possible deal for himself. And I think with this situation, Manchester United, I'm sure the contract that we'd offer him would probably be better than Arsenal. I'm not sure actually what Real Madrid will offer. I'd be guessing, let's guess, like Real Madrid are not going to be lowballing players salary wise, are they? They tend to pay quite big salaries. The difference might be with Manchester United is you're going to be close to a guarantee. At this point in time, you'd say nearly a guaranteed starter. That if you look at the options in midfield at the moment, it's probably nearly a guaranteed starter if you join Man United for Matheus Fernandes at the moment. We got Edison. I don't know what our third midfield signing is going to look like. There is a lot of speculation yesterday about Sangare from Lens. We talked about that extensively yesterday, and he would possibly be about a £40 million signing. So again, but also non-Premier League. So there would be a question of would he be able to jump straight into the first team, or would it take a little bit of time? So these are different factors as well to try and work into. So Edison was linked to a dozen clubs. Actually, I remember Edison being linked to Man City and Manchester United, but that's going back about 2 years now. So it's quite a long time. And where's the Y factor signing? I don't think we're going to get a Y factor signing. I think we're. I want to see. I see thus actually getting signings. Do you know what I was thinking? Like when we signed Lemens, was Lemens a wow signing? I don't think he was because I don't think lots of people. We could see the data, we could see the numbers, but I don't think many people actually watched Stan Lemens before we signed him. I know a few people will, but I think the general consensus was let's see how he gets on. But also, going from Antwerp to Manchester United was a massive step up as well. So I can see with this one that there was going to be a few signings, maybe like the Dorgu signing, where they're not going to be incredibly exciting at the moment, but maybe it's going to make more sense as the transfer window progresses. Like I was expecting, honestly, I was expecting Man United to get a player like a Tonali or an Anderson or something like that. I've always thought too many was a bit unrealistic, but I was actually thinking Anderson. And if we didn't get Anderson, I was actually expecting Man United to make some sort of bid for Tonali. Like he seemed like someone that's going to be, mid-20s, got the experience. I don't think it would have been. I mean, Tonali might not be an exciting signing either, and Alex says, I can't see them walking from Tonali, Belieber, and Anderson because of price, them paying West Ham the money. I suppose it depends on the price, doesn't it? That if Anderson's going to cost 125, and it looks like that's going to be the case, doesn't it? It looks like we had this conversation for ages, and I think most people thought that. No, I thought that maybe 100 plus some add-ons might get the deal done. When Man City offered 106 plus 15, I was thinking, right, we're going to see, here we go. And it seems that Nottingham Forest are pretty much demanding that they get that money up front. So it looks like for Man City, like Man City must have thought that gets the deal done. That it's still a record transfer fee for Man City, and Nottingham Forest have turned that down. So we are seeing them actually when they say they want 125, they're not joking, are they? They want 125 million. The question then is going to be, does this filter in? Does this push up transfer fees for other players? And at the moment, it doesn't look like it's pushed up transfer fees. I don't think it's going to make Man United spend any more than we've already got. Like we see Sangare being talked about as a 40 million option. Is that an option because he's quite cheap? Is that going to be a good option because he doesn't have the Premier League experience and it feels a bit risky? But also, will MATEUS Fernandes cost as much as we think he's going to cost? Like at the moment, we don't know how much he's going to cost. There's probably a big difference between what West Ham want and what Manchester United initially thought they were going to pay as well. So Fernandes, yeah, well, we're going to have both Fernandes, aren't we? Like we'll have both Fernandes in the team. I don't think it's going to be. Um, what's that? Is Bernardo Silva? I don't understand. Question. Bernardo Silva 900. I'm not sure what you mean by that one. He's gone to Real Madrid, though, hasn't he? We saw that announced. Here we go. Now, there's going to be some strange ones happening regarding this one, I think. Big up to you, Kazi. So the only people putting Belieber in the same conversation as Anderson and Tonali are the Brighton board and United fans. Say not even Brighton fans talk about Belieber that much. I think, to be honest, like Scott, I don't think we've mentioned Carlos Belieber a lot for quite a while now. I don't think he's been the topic of like conversations because he's kind of dropped off the radar, hasn't he? And one of the reasons probably is that there's other options that are better than Belieber, and there seems to be a massive unrealistic price from Brighton. So Brighton have effectively priced Belieber at a level which means he'll never get sold. So Belieber's going to be at Brighton pretty much for his career unless Brighton decide to be somewhat realistic with their price expectation. Even then, though, I'm not sure Man United look at Belieber as the option to get. So if you consider like Belieber might have been having limited minutes because of injury this season as well, I think that's another reason why Man United are looking at that for Brighton. They just made it almost impossible to buy their players, haven't they? They made the prices so high that Cucurella wasn't worth £60 million. I think Caicedo is a good player, but he was 116, wasn't he, with add-ons, and that was never going to be a sensible deal. So some of these players are just a little bit. Brighton made them too expensive, and Brighton are going to be actually shooting themselves in the foot because they're going to have Belieber now. They could have got 70 for Belieber last season, I believe, and I think they'd be lucky to get 40 to 50 now. The Belieber price has just dropped massively. Andy says, so Fernandes has told the club he wants United, and that helps us with a transfer. So it looks like, to go back to the Fernandes story, it looks like regarding MATEUS Fernandes, his priority is to move to Manchester United. There's not really a lot of options on the table. I've not heard a single thing about Paris Saint-Germain over the last couple of weeks. They were the other team, actually. When I first talked about Fernandes about 2 months ago, in terms of Man United seriously looking at him as a target, the big news at the time was that he was also being linked to Paris Saint-Germain. They valued the player as well. There was a talk about Arsenal at that time, but I think Arsenal's interest got dismissed quite quickly. So I don't think we're going to be seeing a big problem regarding Man United fighting off Arsenal. But we could be looking at a situation where Manchester United, like we did wonder with Madrid, like Madrid were linked to so many players, it was difficult to know what was hype, what was just like presidential campaign, what was actually spin, and also the media absolutely love a Real Madrid story as much as they love a Man United story. So again, it's almost impossible to work out what was going on with those deals. And as Rob said, like Sangare, I think we talked about this as well, that maybe Sangare could be a bit of a, for some people, it's going to be a really sensible option. I think for a lot of people, they looked at that and thought, "Oh, Man United trying to do things cheaply." Like, I don't, to be honest, I don't really mind the price players cost. If you think a player fits exactly what you need, then yeah, you go for that player. I say, oh, Real Madrid so far they've got Silva, Dumfries, and Canate. To be honest, to be honest, I'm not. That doesn't excite me. To be honest, if that was Man United's transfer window, I'd be feeling like we're buying players a bit past their best and not the best top quality. But again, different league in La Liga. I don't know, but Real Madrid, that's not a Galactico. Those are not Galactico signings, are they? I mean, Alex Strand says you would take Morgan Rogers ahead of Fernandez as players who transition to Bruno's position in a couple of years' time. Say Fernandez is not for me. I think with this one, like MATEUS Fernandes, he's got to come in as the midfielder. Like Bruno Fernandez is going to be in the team. I think Morgan Rogers, and this might be disappointing, but I'm guessing that from what I read this morning, it looks a bit like Manchester United are more likely to sign a left back than they are to sign a left wing for the club. So if you're going to see stories about Lewis Hall, which again, there's a lot of stories about Lewis Hall. I don't know how many are true. There's definitely not a campaign, but there's definitely a lot of positive stuff put out about Lewis Hall saying he wants to leave Newcastle. But Newcastle sources keep saying no, this is not true, and they say this is the spin. So I think the Lewis Hall situation at the moment, I don't know what to believe. Like I see so many stories saying Lewis Hall wants to leave Newcastle and citing different reasons, but Newcastle side of it are saying this is nonsense. Like he does not want to leave. He's going to stay at Newcastle. Newcastle do not want to sell him. So again, like Newcastle seem to be positioning themselves quite a lot, quite a lot at the moment in terms of like where Brighton are. So I think if you're going to buy a player from Newcastle, they're going to be very expensive, which makes me think that maybe they're going to be staying at the clubs they're at. So some of these clubs are putting very high price tags, thinking they're going to get these deals done. I think that some of the clubs are just going to be have to be realistic. That Nottingham Forest can do it because there's a big demand for Anderson and it's going to cost a lot of money, but there is no demand for Belieber at the moment. There doesn't seem to be a big demand for Tonali. Like no team in Italy can afford Tonali. The teams looking at him are presumably Manchester United and Arsenal. And Tonali wants to leave the club, but Newcastle are making it very, very difficult. I can't see how Man United can justify spending 100 million on Tonali when, frankly, the options that are cheaper are probably better options for Man United. So what would really help the transfer market is across all the leagues, every contract for the player has a get out clause. I suppose you'd have to be very careful because if Man United were going to buy Matheus Fernandes for, let's just say, £70 million, and if we're going to guess, actually, my guess was probably he'd cost £60 million. Given that Anderson might actually be going for 125, I'm starting to think now if Man United can get Matheus Fernandes done for £70 million, it's probably not the worst deal in the world. It still feels like a lot of money, and it still feels like you're spending £70 million now on a player that's going to be. We're kind of still guessing about how good he's going to be. I do think he's a good player, but he's got a lot of improvements to do on a lot of things. Loomis says Brighton don't want to sell Belieber, Forest don't want to sell Anderson. I think Forest do want to sell Anderson. I think Forest want to cash in. So I think that I don't believe Brighton want to challenge that. Brighton want to sell Belieber. They just want the best possible. I think Brighton are a selling club. I do believe that. I think Nottingham Forest. I think they just want a record fee, but I think they just want the money. So I think Nottingham Forest definitely want to sell him. They just want to get the best possible price, don't they? I think Newcastle are probably the one club that seem to not want to sell the players. And big up to you, Brill, as well. No, I don't think. Yeah, I think with Rodgers, that's probably the issue, isn't it? I'm not sure Rodgers is going to be what we actually need at this point in time. So I think at the moment, Man United need to fix our centre midfield, don't we? We need to fix the midfield, get some players in that team that are going to make us hard to play against, and then probably look at left back, backup striker. I think left wing at the moment, you got Cunha, you got Dorgu playing there. I think that's going to be a more important signing in an, if Man United got the budget to do like five, six, or even like seven players, then maybe you can look at it. But say Rodgers probably ending up in Arsenal. If I was Arsenal, I think Rodgers is an upgrade on what you've got at the moment. I think Arsenal should be looking to improve their attack. Man United should be focusing on midfield again. Let's say we need a left back way more than we need a left winger or cam, says Cake. I think that's true. I think that's true that ideally you have to look at trying to fix your team. I think with Man United at the moment, I was hoping for a really big signing, and I was hoping for something that would be a signing where, like, I was hoping that for some reason we would get Anderson. Okay, that's what I wanted. That was my priority signing. But obviously, got to be realistic, and that doesn't look like it's had much chance of happening given the price. Then too many feels like an exciting one, but it felt massively unrealistic, didn't it? So once you've gone past that, then I think MATEUS Fernandes, Alex Scott, Sangare, they're probably the main ones. I think also you say Tonali and Adam Wharton are probably overpriced. If we're looking to try and sign three midfielders, we're looking at that sort of price. I think I saw a comment from Jim saying if we're looking at three midfielders, so if we're looking at three midfielders, then say what Fernandez, Scott, and Sangare, we've already got we've already got Edison, haven't we? So I think we're going to look for two more midfielders. It depends how much Alex Scott costs, doesn't it? When I see people talking about Alex Scott and I saw the price tag £80 million, that for me that's getting a bit ridiculous now. That I think even like for the deal for Fernandez, I thought £60 million seems like West Ham are getting a 50% profit after 1 year. That's £20 million more than they paid for him would be good, but for them they want double, so it's ridiculous, isn't it? So look out for. Okay, there's a few games that I watched. I watched the kickoff game yesterday. I saw the first game, Mexico against South Africa, and in that match, it was kind of difficult to say how good Mexico were because South Africa just didn't really turn up, and then the red cards just meant it was pretty straightforward, but a bit of a bizarre game, like three red cards. But I thought Mexico looked quite good, actually. I would say this, though. I thought Jimenez's header, the cross for that was such a good cross. Nice finish for him. So, hopefully more of that. Good to see like a few goals going in the World Cup so far. And if Juve is ridiculously expensive, you look abroad. I think Juve is like definitely a work in progress, isn't he? Like definitely a work in progress. So I think if Man United are looking to buy a player from West Ham, if we spend big on Fernandez, there's no way we can. We know there's no way we can spend too much on Juve. Like he's definitely one for the future. A big up to you, niche fan in the chat as well. Stephanie, legend, DJ in the chat as well. Hope you guys are having a good day. So you don't like, yeah, I think with Belieber, you'd have to be really careful, wouldn't you? Paying like a cheap price for sure. And big up to you, Mr. B. Damien Duff is your assistant manager. I kind of like, he's kind of dropped off the radar for me. And so I think we get Fernandez, and then we got to sell players to bring another midfield player in, says Jay. It could be. It could be. There was a couple of stories being pushed out this morning about Marcus Rashford, and maybe Bayern Munich are actually prepared to make an offer for that player. So we'll have to see if that happens. I think one thing is that Bayern Munich would be a lot easier to deal with, a lot more straightforward than Barcelona. So if that does happen, Bayern Munich are a well-run club. They were looking at Gordon as well, weren't they? And I think Bayern Munich, maybe Rashford in Bayern Munich. I think he'd do very well there. I think it'd be, certainly they'd be looking at another league title, wouldn't they? So maybe Rashford can get another league title in Germany, and then I don't know, maybe he'd have to negotiate on his salary a little bit. But Bayern Munich do pay quite big salaries. They're a lot better run financial institution than Barcelona, so I'm sure they would have the capability. They were paying quite big money to a few players. They would have paid decent money for Gordon, but we'll have to see with Gordon that one as well. So it could be that Matheus Fernandes is the one player we can buy. Then we can bring other players in. But also, as we get towards July, Man United will be able to spend a bit more as well. Yeah, no, exactly. That's the 3 a.m. kickoff, isn't it? So I'm not sure. To be honest, I don't know how that game went. I'll have to check out the highlights a bit later on regarding that one. So the issue with getting Fernandez is now setting a bar for other teams, just like last year. Then this is going to be one where does the Elliot Anderson deal, if it goes for like 125 million, which if there's any updates on that, let me know. But I think people are expecting Man City to come back and probably just pay the money in the end. Like they might just have to pay the money. I mean, if Jack Grealish is worth 100, well, how many years ago was Jack Grealish 100 million pounds? Like 5 years ago. If Jack Grealish is 100 million pounds, then in like 5 years of inflation, then Andy Anderson 125. If Man City pay that, the deal gets done. Does that push the price up for other players? I think it might do. I think West Ham will be looking at that, and the only thing that keeps the price, or keeps the lid on this, is that I don't think there's anyone actually prepared to offer more than Man United for MATEUS Fernandes. I think if we go with like a 65 plus add-ons, it's going to be quite bold of West Ham to turn that down, considering I don't think there's going to be. I don't think Real Madrid are interested. I don't think Arsenal are interested. And I think Man United are the only team that has actually had significant talks at all. Like if we're looking at, if we forget all the hype and all the speculation, Manchester United have spoken to Matheus Fernandes' agent, and he's spoken to West Ham, and this has been going on for over a month anyway. So it was reported about a week ago that Man United have been speaking for 6 weeks to the player, to his to his entourage, to the club, and Arsenal, Real Madrid are just not in the conversation. So for me, I'm not overly concerned. It feels like United just need to, like West Ham just need to realise there's not there's not a transfer battle here. Man United are the only team actually looking at it. So, so apparently we're after actually it's Mamadou Sangare. We're actually the player from Lens. Robinson's been linked, but I think Robinson's age. If you're looking at left backs, we keep being linked to we keep being linked to players that are a bit older, and we never buy them as well. Um, we bought Paul Ince from West Ham. Okay, it's going back a bit, but we bought Paul Ince from West Ham. He was a great player for Man United. Then we sold him for, I can't actually remember how much he went to for Inter, but I'm imagining we probably made some profit on that deal. But no, we bought players from West Ham before, just not that recent. And so there was talk that City would walk away at that price. So maybe with this one, like Andy says, maybe you're looking at a situation where if Man City did actually walk away, I think the fact that Man City have offered 106 plus 15 is pretty much that money, isn't it? So it's is the only difference is that money's add-ons. I think Forest want the money guaranteed, so they don't want any add-ons. They want the money guaranteed. And Man City, they probably got the money, you'd guess, if they want to spend that. But if they're going to spend 125, that's what it's going to cost. It's like Man United. We got Embuemo done for 65 plus, I think it was like six add-ons to make it 71. So Man United got the deal done with Brian Embuemo, and it included add-ons. But those add-ons, probably all been paid now because we've got Champions League football. I think City. I don't think City are going to walk away. I don't think you offer like close to the money, like just a few £1 million difference, and then walk away. So I don't see City walking away. We'll have to see if that does happen. So we did sell them. We did sell them Wan-Bissaka, but he was very cheap, wasn't he? We sold them Wan-Bissaka. He was pretty cheap. And would you be happy? Like, where does Hall stand in terms of a signing? Like, if we're looking at this, does Hall? Like, I don't think we're going to. I said this. I don't think we're going to sign Galactico signings. Does Lewis Hall count as a signing that Man United fans would look at and go, actually, that's moving in the right direction? You get Lewis Hall for potentially, I don't know how much it's going to cost. It would be a world record left back fee. So you'd have to be really convinced he's going to be worth the money. It would mean that with Man United, if we did get Matheus Fernandes and it's going to cost us about 65, 70 million pounds, would you be happy spending the same on Lewis Hall as left back? It might be that it's starting to get to the situation where I think there's a lot of other options that might be potentially more sensible options. Like Rob mentioned Truffert in the chat, and that's one person people were looking at. I think there's going to be a few others. Like people talk about Robinson, but again, I think Robinson's a bit too old actually. Like I think if you're looking at players looking to try and come in as younger prospects as well, say Belgian. So I'm not familiar with this player, but another player that's a prospect at left back. I think Diouf is a prospect at left back as well. You got Kadioglu as well, Truffert as well. So you got there's quite a few options there. Lewis Hall is the most expensive, and I don't think it's very close. So I think it's going to be the most expensive by a distance. The question is going to be, is it worth paying that amount of money? Like, no, is it worth spending £70 million on the left back? You're kind of gambling a little bit in terms of one of the things I did see. I'll just put this up. I think I got a screenshot of something to do with Lewis Hall, which I was going to put up to see if I got it. So this is coming from Statman Dave, and this is just clearly a few numbers and saying that in terms of duels and winning his defensive duels, his battles, and ground duels in particular, Lewis Hall is the best left back in the Premier League and that metric. So in terms of someone that's going to be good tackling, winning those duels, Lewis Hall is up there. I mean, he's 21 years old. He's already putting up the best numbers for that particular attribute. Okay, he's obviously got other things to work on in his game, but you'd imagine like 21 years old, you've got to play for a decade in the club. Is it worth spending massive money? Because it's going to be a world record for a left back fee, I'm guessing, to get this deal done. Like Newcastle keeps saying it's going to be a world record. Would you be happy spending, if it costs £70 million, would you be happy spending £70 million on a left back? Then that's obviously going to be a huge amount of money as well. So have a look at some of the chat as well. So you think Sangari's been used to prove a point to Brighton? However, he can become another believer in 2 seasons. I think Sangari's like 23 years old, isn't he? He's already probably. I think Sangari's been talked about for a while now, and he's probably one of the best midfielders in the French league that's not playing for Paris Saint-Germain. So he's very highly regarded. And the difference in price between Sangari and Baliba last season is probably Sangari playing 1 season in the Premier League. If you drop Sangari in the Premier League, if he's £40 million now, he plays in the Premier League for 12 months. If he replicates anything like he did for Lons this season, you're probably adding £20 million to that price tag to start with. Like the price would just go shooting up. So again, I think you have to look at it and say, this is what happens. So if Man United want to go for a player that's not in the Premier League, then you're going to get a better deal, aren't you? And I think a lot of people will be like, there's no doubt that Sangari, there's no guarantee he walks into the team and replicates what he's already doing, but it might be that you give him like 12 months time and maybe he can do that. So again, it's not going to be. Again, I don't think it's exciting for some fans. They just want to get a big name into the club. I think some fans need to be realistic that we might not be getting that as well. Nish says that you think realistic targets, Sangari, Truffert, and these might end up actually, no, these might work out as well as more expensive signings. That's the thing. So it's mad that Real Madrid have no players in the Spanish World Cup squad. That is quite a surprising stat, isn't it? Like considering like he had, yeah, that's a bizarre one. That's a strange one. How many are in the Premier League? Like the Premier League's got a lot of money, so is there much Spanish talent? Like obviously you got Barcelona. Now that's an interesting stat. 65 plus 10 add-ons. Are we going for like? Is this the MATEUS Fernandes price? Then Mr. B says you should be after Lewis Hall. I think Lewis Hall's probably the most exciting target if people are looking at this one as well. DJ's agreeing with like United Strand's suggestions and saying, yeah, if you get some cheap players that then grow as a team, I think Man United are looking at trying to grow as a team as well. Lewis Hall or Truffert says Pulp 76. this is a difficult one, isn't it? That I think at the moment you probably would say Lewis Hall might have the highest ceiling, possibly. I mean, I'm not sure how Old Trafford is. I think Lewis Hall was like going to be quite a lot more expensive, but then Bournemouth, we haven't seen anything about. I haven't seen much about Trafford price wise, but I'd imagine that as soon as Man United are linked, you probably add like 20% of whatever it was supposed to cost. I would say for one that until recently, Bournemouth players have not had a ridiculous price tag. Like Semenyo went for a sensible price that was like a Cunha type price, but pretty sensible, and he was like one of the informed players in the Premier League. He didn't go for crazy money. I don't think Houston and Kirkes went for crazy money either. So Bournemouth players haven't been as expensive until we've seen like Alex Scott price put up at that amount. So that things could change. Like if Bournemouth are getting good prices, the teams is playing very well. Maybe they see this as an opportunity. Kenny says you will be happy if we get Lewis Hall. Yeah, if we get Lewis Hall, I'll be happy. I just think it's like if it starts becoming close to 70, it feels like a huge amount of money to spend on a left back. Andy said, I wouldn't be happy spending £50 million on Hull. There's got to be players out there in the Bundesliga. There's a lot of other players that have been linked as well. So, again, with this one, Lewis Hall's under quite a big contract. And we're looking at this saying Newcastle fans must be bemused with the Prem and La Liga's teams picking at the bones of their team. No, it's like what's happened really is like Newcastle have some very good players. And looking at the situation, then that it looks a bit like Newcastle players have just once one leaves, like once Isak went, it's kind of like for me the writing's on the wall a bit, isn't it? So once Isak left, now we've seen Gordon leave, and then I think for Lewis Hall and like Tonali wants to leave because I just don't see Newcastle being getting back into the Champions League. So it feels a bit like Newcastle had a couple of years where that was their chance to try and get players in to try and make sure they can get the Champions League year after year. And it looks like Newcastle, it's like a cycle's over, isn't it? It's like once Tonali goes and Bruno Guimaraes isn't getting any younger, if Lewis Hall goes, that would be a big blow because Lewis Hall, the age he's at, I think Newcastle were hoping to keep him for a long time, and it could be a difficult thing for Newcastle. That's the danger, isn't it? If you have a good season like Newcastle did, your players go in the Champions League. You actually do quite well in the Champions League. A few of their players are in the shop window now, and Man United and other teams are looking at that, and they're going to try and nick their best players. So it's tricky. So let's go through a few of the comments as well. I'd say for Lewis Hall, was that 65 plus 10 for Lewis Hall? Who is the best attacker out of Hall and Trafford? I don't actually have those stats on me. I'm just thinking like with this one, like Lewis Hall is. I think there was definitely because he's quite young. It's difficult to say what his potential is. I think people talk about Duke at West Ham and say very good crosser of the ball. That's definitely a strength, but positionally he kind of needs to work on his game a little bit. I'd say with MATEUS FERNANDES as well. Like positionally, he doesn't always have the discipline, but again, playing for West Ham, sometimes he's like charging forward. Sometimes at West Ham he's got to do what he needs to do in that team. But best attacker out of Old Trafford, I don't know. This might be subjective, but they're quite young at the moment, so it's difficult to tell. I think it seems this one, like Newcastle had a poor season, didn't they? So, do we not have the best attacking left back possibly in Dorgu? Says United Strand. If Dorgu was a left back, you would have to look at it and say he's got to be up there, isn't he? Like he's got a great shot. He's very attack minded, but he's not playing as a left back, is he? So he's not. I don't know. I think Man United are not considering Dorgu a left back. That's why we're looking at a left back. If Dorgu was a left back, say in our team, then again we've got no problem, have we? If we got Luke Shaw and Dorgu, we've got no problem. But I think Dorgu is considered a left wing player at the moment, and actually potentially a right wing player if he scores goal for in one of the World Cup friendlies against Sweden. And why do you have to prepare a bid before you bid? Says Daz. Do you feel like this one? Like I think you're right, Daz. It sounds ridiculous, doesn't it, when you think about it? But when you're looking at it, I think you know the story regarding Nottingham Forest and the Man City bids. Man City have made two bids now; they're both rejected, and they're going to have to go back and make a third bid. And this used to be Man United. Remember Branthwaite? Man United, we make two bids. Everton keep wanting more. And even like in Bremo, it was the same situation. I think this is going to be a bit like Sesko deal, I think, Daz. So I think with this one, Man United are probably going to have like unofficial, like say official talks, and maybe there's going to be unofficial suggestion of like how much you're going to bid, how much you're going to pay, etc. And then what we'll see is Man United work out the price that's going to work out the price that's required to get this deal done, and then they make that offer. So I don't think this is going to be a case of Man United offer a certain price, West Ham say no, Man United come back with a different price. I think it's going to be effectively Man United do the negotiation behind closed doors, then make a public bid that West Ham accept, and we all move on. So I don't think we're going to see the drama of transfer offer rejected, re-offered, and because I think for this one, that if Man United are in talks with West Ham, and West Ham were like adamant that they want at least 70 plus like five add-ons, just as an example, there's no point in Man United then bidding less than that, knowing West Ham will refuse it. So I think you have to have a. It just makes more sense, doesn't it? If this is what we're looking at as well. And so I think Dorgu could do that. It's just that it doesn't seem that Man United feel like he's going to be, you know, looking at that sort of situation. So I'm sure we'll break down if he's playing twice a week, and we definitely need a left back. 100%, Rob, 100%. But there is no way that Luke Shaw, like he played 38 league games last season. There is no way Luke Shaw plays 55 matches, is there? There's no way. And it's like twice a week, 3 games in 10 days, whatever the schedule's going to be. It's going to be quite a lot of demand. So I think we definitely need a left back. And at the moment, Harry and Mass doesn't seem like he's going to be. It doesn't look like we've got any younger players that are going to be that cover, does it? Like Leon, Harry and Mass, there doesn't seem to be anybody ready. And that means Man United, there's two options, isn't there? One is Dorgu plays as a left back and Man United buy an attacking player. But I think Man United see Dorgu, because Dorgu's got the goal threat already, and I think the chemistry is building a little bit between the attacking players. I think Man United are looking for an attack minded left back at the moment and players that are going to be able to overlap, able to put crosses in, able to link with maybe Matheus Cunha or Sesko. And I think that's what they're looking at. Luke Shaw is going to be, for me, if Luke Shaw's a backup, then we've done a decent deal somewhere. Like if we got someone that's going to come in as first team, and we're all happy that Luke Shaw is just, more of a rotation player than he was last season, that could be a bit of progression as well. Hey, big up Bilal. Yeah, I don't think many people could. I haven't seen that at the moment either. So I'll check out that highlights. But no, good win for South Korea, and I think another game tonight. And I don't think there's going to be any watch long tonight because everyone's busy. But what we'll do, we'll try and cover some more matches as the World Cup progresses as well, and maybe focus on some of the matches that involve Man United targets, players we want to watch, and some of the bigger games because there's going to be. Let's be realistic. No one's going to be up at, well, some people might be, but 3, 4, 5 a.m. in the morning. Like, we're going to be asleep for a lot of these games. So Roberto Carlos was not a good left. Roberto Carlos was top quality. Who's saying Roberto Carlos is not a good left back? It's like saying Cafu hasn't got an engine. Like some of these players, they're just top quality, aren't they? As well. I think with Roberto Carlos, he went to the wrong. What's my best centre back pairing for United next season? Ooh, tough one, Stephanie. Tough one. At the moment, I'll always say this. I think my best centre back pairing for Man United next season is probably going to involve one experienced player and one younger player at the moment. So if we're looking at the current state of the squad, like Delit's not going to be coming back for like, when is Delit back? I'm not sure. Like he's going to be out of the picture. At the moment, I would probably say you've probably got to look at Lissandro Martinez and Maguire, and then one of Yoro and Aiden Heaven. At the moment, I would say probably Aiden Heaven and Maguire might be potentially like one of the better starting partnerships. I know that Man United potentially we have games where we got Lissandro Martinez and Maguire. I think over the course of like the next 12 months, one of Heaven or Yoro needs to try and like grab that first team place. So that's why I'd go for one experienced player, one younger player for a lot of games, and hopefully we see. I think hopefully we're seeing one of those players step up. I think Aiden Heaven might be slightly ahead of Yoro because he seems like he can cope with the physical demands of that. Yoro's got stuff to work on, particularly like some of the things he's doing in the air. I think he needs to work on that. But I think Aiden Heaven just needs experience. So I would probably say Maguire and Heaven actually. But again, I think different partnerships in different games. I really hope that if we have some injury to Lissandro Martinez at the start of the season, we got a big problem because we're going to have to. I think the Aiden Heaven Euro partnership is it just needs more experience, doesn't it? We've got a 19-year-old and a 20-year-old there. I hope we get. I was hoping that we'd actually get another defender in, but De Ligt's operation has probably meant that we can't sell Martinez, or we can't get centre back in unless we're prepared to sell Martinez. And apparently, Man United said they're not going to do that. So yeah, I'd say montage of Dorgu with Denmark, so much energy and a hell of a shot on him with both feet. Yeah, this is where I think that Dorgu's just too threatening as an attacking player, isn't he? Like way too attacking. So that's why I don't think Man United are going to be looking at left back. But we've seen so many players that you just look at. If you look at Almajalo, he's good dribbling the ball. He's like got some pace, but Dorgu's just got that frightening shot. So if I was a defender, and I'm not a defender, but if I was a defender, I think if Dorgu's got the ball, you need to close him down and stop him shooting, and I think that opens up space and causes panic. If Amajalo's like at distance, I just don't see him being able to do the same sort of thing. So yeah, Dorgu is like an incredibly versatile player, isn't he? That the fact he can play on the right wing is not really a surprise because he was doing that at Lecce as well. So he has played like multiple different positions. So now Dorgu is just incredibly versatile, which is it's an amazing strength, isn't it? But also, I think when you talk about versatile players, sometimes people think about Phil Neville, who's like filling in midfield and like in defence, and you think about Clayton Blackmore, who also did the same sort of thing. And I think sometimes people assume that they're just like rotation players or not as effective players. I think Dorg is still a very good player. It's just going to be that, it's just going to be that he's just able to play multiple positions, and it's a good thing as well. So let me go for a few of the chats as well. It looks like there's a few people just joined. So big up to you, Jolly MUFC fan, and saying Tuchel has dropped Maguire, but Rich hasn't. Um, Tuchel, I'll say this like Jolly, Tuchel's got more people to pick from than I have, so I don't have as many. Tuchel's got like all of every English player in the world to go for. We've effectively got, I think we've got four, haven't we? We've got Lissandro Martinez, we've got Harry Maguire, we've got Aiden Heaven, and we've got Yaro. So we've only got four people to pick from. So Harry Maguire had a 50-50 chance, didn't he? Um, Again, I would say I'm hoping by the end of the season, I'm really hoping that Harry Maguire is not first choice and we've got other options. But I'm just saying, it's a starting point, isn't it? Harry Maguire was very effective for Man United under Michael Carrick, and I think that we just need to get Aiden Heaven and Yori just need to grab that opportunity if they do get this one as well. Stephanie said you asked that question because Heaven and Dorgu formed a good relationship down that left-hand side under Amrin's 3-4-3 system. So Heaven at left back may be an option. The issue is then we just don't have a lot of. If Aiden Heaven's playing at left back, then we've effectively just got only three other centre backs available, haven't we? So I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think Aiden Heaven played as the CDM, didn't he, for Arsenal a bit? He's played a bit more in midfield. So I think that it's good that he's got some versatility. And maybe with Aiden Heaven, if Man United did actually move on, say, De Ligt and bought a top quality centre back, maybe there is that option for him to play in two different positions as well. Like maybe that would be a better. I'm guessing that it's going to be difficult for him to try and play multiple positions. He's only 19 still, but potentially there's potential one. And big up to you, Mo, Broken Verdict. Good to see you in the chat. And someone said a suggestion for a poll. I'm just trying to find the United Strands comment. Let's see. Say a technical one versus one winger who can get past a low block. That's something we don't really have, do we? I'm trying to think about when was the last time we had that. I don't think Garnacho had that. You could probably say that Armadillo can beat a player, but he sometimes needs to cross a little bit quicker regarding that one. If I did a poll of Sangari versus Fernandez, which I do like, I like this suggestion because it does drive a bit of conversation. What prices are you putting on those players? Then are we going to be looking at £70 million for Fernandez, 40 million for Sangari, or are we going to assume that that Sangari's price would be bit a bit closer as well? What do you think regarding this one? So what I'll do is I'll put a poll in the chat. I will do this poll, but I want to know what you guys think is a sensible option for price, because if we put a massive price difference, then people will go for the cheaper option, possibly. I just want it to be realistic. If you're looking at these two options, it needs to be a realistic conversation. So Sangari 60 million, Fernandez 80 million. Okay, I guess that's the kind of top end, isn't it? So, because I was thinking that maybe like 50 and 70, but either way, like 20 difference sounds about right. So I'll put best option. And yeah, if you got some like thoughts between either of them, let me know. So that's in euros. Okay, so I'm going to do it in pounds because I'm in the UK, and but it's going to be the same sort of ratio, isn't it? So I'm going to go like 70 and 50. So I think that's like sensible as well. Is there any truth in Robinson? Says Kevin. It's been talked about. It's been linked. I'm just saying for me that yeah, either way it's going to be 20 difference, I think. So I'll go with a middle range, like United Strand is saying, like Mo is like, I think you're both kind of like very close. Now I think Robinson's linked, but I would just say for me, I don't think it's likely because of his age. Like how old is he now? I don't think Man United are looking at players that old. So that's me guessing that Man United have not signed a player older than Mazraoui since Ineos have been making decisions. And big up to you, Genghis and Salia. So let's put this one in. So best option. So put Fernandez in. I'm going to put Fernandez in at say 70 as a top price, and I'm going to put in Sangare at 50. Just because I think 20 million pounds difference is going to be roughly what we have. Like Fernandez, Sangari, if it's going to be top price, you get 60 and 80. I think that's going to be the difference is going to be 20 million pounds or euros. It's going to be about that sort of differential. So you're going to get a bit cheaper deal if you go for Sangari, which is probably because he's not played in the Premier League and he's playing at Lens. West Ham have got a bigger budget. They've got more money. They're going to demand more for their players. So that's what we're looking at. So let's put that in there as the options. So again, no right or wrong decision. Please vote for what you think you would do. If you're looking at making a decision yourself, what would you go for? This could be like a close one, but we'll see what people think. So please vote if you can vote. If you haven't clicked the like as well, please do that. If you haven't subscribed to the channel and you're just watching for the first time, please do that as well. We are a very interactive channel. One of the things I did talk about as well is if we get some new viewers in here as well, I have got the map. I've been working on the map a little bit. I know people have heard about this map, and it does just have a pin for every sort of Man United fan. So I will be looking at doing that as well. So I've gone through that one a little bit as well. So maybe they get yeah Genghis. I like the way that Genghis is looking at it from like a Man United fan perspective and just going, why should we choose? We should buy both. We are Manchester United. We should get both these players in. If we did get Sangari and Fernandez, then I don't know. That's an interesting one. I mean, budget wise, it kind of makes sense, but you'd be getting three signings in, let's say, Edison, Fernandez, Sangari. You're spending what, less than 150? I'm guessing Fernandez say 70, Sangari 50. That's 120, maybe like 155 then for the three of them. PSG, oh, come on, PSG, you need to give up. I think this is Man United's deal to do now, isn't it? If we want this deal done, PSG they've kind of had their chance. They've been, they're about a month behind at least. Yanis says We are getting both. We're not getting a marquee signing. To be honest, I'm trying to think actually. This is a genuine question now. When we saw Paris Saint-Germain, they moved from having, like, who do they have? They had Di Maria, they had, who did they have? They had Cavani, they had Neymar, they had Messi, they had Mbappe. You're talking about Galactico signings, aren't you, for PSG? They never really got over the line. And then would you look at PSG's team now? And the team they got now is amazing at PSG. Were they marquee signings when they bought them? I think Kvaratskhelia was definitely. We talked about Kvaratskhelia on Red Devil United a few years ago, and we really rated him. He was what 59 million euros. We said he would have been an excellent signing. So Kvaratskhelia was definitely talked about. Doué was definitely talked about. But were they going to be signings? Were these the sort of signings that you saw? These are going to be actually Zlatan as well. Zlatan was definitely another great signing. But would you be looking at PSG at the moment and saying, when they put that team together, were any of those players regarded as like, I don't know, Galacticos, statement signings, flagship players like Galactico, or have they just built a team that's then made everybody look like a world class player? So this is where again, I don't know how this is going to work at Manchester United, but I don't think we're going to be getting massive household names. We're going to be getting. It looks like we're doing things either on a budget. So this is kind of like what I'll say. If you want to be positive, and you can say this is a cost-effective way of building a team. If you want to put a negative, you can say Man United doing things on the massive cheap here. We should be spending more money than this to get this deal done. Like Man United do not need to be looking around for the best possible deals. Like we should have some money to spend. So if you think maybe we're both, yeah, the owners are terrible, Marks. The owners are terrible. I think that some of the people making decisions, like some of the scouts, some of the like Babel, some of the people deciding to sign, say Lamens, Aiden Heaven. I think there's people at the club making very good decisions, but the people at the top have obviously caused a massive problem and made it difficult for Man United to try and compete with some of the teams, like financially. Yeah, please don't forget to do these things, like Stephanie says: vote, like, share, subscribe, comment, and yeah, we definitely won't bite. We might we might be a bit sarcastic. That is definitely something that might happen. There may be a bit of discussion about food towards the end of streams as well. That would just be natural as we get hungry. Talking does make people hungry. So Genghis says I like the left foot profile and for that balance in midfield. And it is definitely something that United have been looking at in terms of like what's the best option in your team. And you look at some left-sided players. You've got Baliba, Sangari now both predominantly left-footed as well, looking for that balance. It's about trying to look at what you've got already and look at what you've got in terms of like what do you need, what do Manchester United need. And when I was talking about Sangari yesterday, I was saying that he's already playing at a very high level. In terms of like if he's a proper six, so it's definitely Sangari does in he's doing in the French league what Anderson is doing in the Premier League, like putting in a crazy amount of work, winning the ball back. No one wins the ball back more than Sangari, and he's probably the best player in the French league that does not play for PSG. That's how good I think people have been talking about him. So again, the fact he might be 40, 50 million pounds, I think he's going to be more expensive. I'd say Sangori looks ready for a step up. Very physical, very athletic, decent on the ball. He's got a good range of passing actually as well. That's something that's going to be, yeah, that's something that we're going to see. But very athletic, decent on the ball. 23 years old, I believe. Yeah, Alex, I think 23 years old. It seems like this is the time for him to move up, isn't it? He's done his work. He's on the radar. I'm surprised PSG aren't trying to get him, but again, I'm guessing from Lons's perspective, they would rather sell him outside of the league as well. Yanni says Sangari is most likely not happening. Fernandez is happening. I think Fernandez is going to happen. I think Sangari is definitely one where it makes a lot of sense. Like when I looked at Sangare yesterday, and if you missed the video, it was quite a long stream on just Sangare yesterday, and there's not really any negatives, is there? Like transfer fee wise, it's not going to be that much. Salary wise, it's going to be actually pretty cheap as well. He's not getting paid loads at Lons, no surprise. And then defensive work, he does so much of that. He's going to be instantly an upgrade to like Agate because actually when Sangari's on the ball, he's got something that Agate hasn't got. He's got a range of passing that's good. He's able to drive the ball forward as well, which is obviously going to be something really positive in the Premier League. And Man United do need some ball carriers as well. That's something that we haven't been great with. And I think if you've got Ko Mainu there, who is very, very competent, and you drop someone like Elliot Anderson, we'd see that as a massive improvement, wouldn't we? And if you're looking at dropping Sangari in there, I think you see the same sort of thing. So for me, it's a different player, but I think you're going to see the same benefits as well. So at the moment, the poll is 60-40 in favour of Sangari. I'm not surprised. I think that Sangari's like got a lot of fans. Maybe the price is going to be a little bit like that. So if you're only positive, well, I think you just have to be open-minded, don't you? Sangari feels like an 8, says Mo. If he played the 6, he plays like destroyer role profile closer to Edison. They could be quite both mobile, couldn't we? So the other one is like Camera, who I remember Camera being talked about as well. And so you want Lee Kang from PSG. I think, yeah, it might be hard getting players out of PSG unless PSG are looking to move them on. No, I think Camera was the one person in terms of like, if you're looking at uh, the situation regarding Sangare, he got voted, was it best African player in League One this season? And I think Camera was the other person that was in line for that one. I don't have a price for Camera, but he's definitely another player that's been talked about in high regard as well. It said Sangari is the same profile as Believer was. As soon as we leave now, Brighton will go in and sign him. Other clubs are using our scouts to get players. And one interesting thing, this one, Salia, is that talking to a couple of people I know who've gone through the academy system a couple of weeks ago, they were saying that there's quite a lot of scouts that are freelance. So the information Man United have will be exactly the same information that a lot of teams have. So we've obviously got our own scouts that will go to games and we'll look at the players and evaluate them. And we've got a team that will go through the data as well. But one of the things regarding this as well is that Man United, that some of the scouting reports that we get will be the same as other clubs. So this is why I think any player that's on the radar of a top club will be on the radar of every top club. So it's not going to be a big surprise, is it, for that one? I would say Sangari, Mainu, Bruno. That's a well balanced midfield three, says Cake. We've already got Mainu there, haven't we? So I guess it depends on like in terms of like Mainu's good in possession, like very good in possession, and you could say with Sangare, he would do effectively what Elliot Anderson does, and then Edison would be your backup player. The question then would be like, if you did get Sangare, and it's a big if, like, is MATEUS Fernandes going to be your first choice because he's going to cost potentially I don't know 20, 25, maybe more £1 million more than Sangare. And I think Sangare for me, I put him as if I was going to say like probability of signings, I've got to put MATEUS Fernandes at like 75%. It looks like we're leading the race. It looks like he's going to be our next signing. Sangare, I don't know. I'd say what's the odds on signing Sangare? Like, is it going to be like 1 in 3? I'm not sure whether it's 50-50. I don't know whether we're going to be signing him at all. So Camera is probably slightly more expensive than Sangare, probably about £50 million, so like 60 million euros maybe. So yeah, it seems like we've gone for like it looks like left-footed is like the way forward, doesn't it? It looks like that's going to be what we're going for, which I don't mind. I think United have been like one of the things with these streams. It's pretty clear, isn't it, that Man United have they know what they're looking for. They know the sort of profile they want, and every single player we're looking at pretty much fits into this category, doesn't it? Stephanie says midfield chemistry needs to be spot on. So it's going to take. I suppose with this, that one of the positives would be is that if Manchester United are trying to fix the chemistry in midfield, then Kobe Mainoo, Bruno Fernandes, you got Cunha and Buemo. These players are already there, so we're not looking at making a ridiculous amount of change. I know Casemiro is going to go, so we're probably looking for a player that's going to be replacing Casemiro. To get the same player as Casemiro, I've said this for a long time. It's going to be nearly impossible to get exactly the same profile of player. But maybe like Casemiro won his duels very effectively, but maybe you can get someone that's more mobile, so they can win like a greater number of duels just by sheer effort as well. So in terms of like these players, you're never going to replace Casemiro like for like. And if you're looking at 21, 22-year old, then to compare them to Casemiro is going to be, we have no idea how well these players are going to do over their career, are we? So it feel a little bit bizarre we go on this one. How long do you reckon we should do the stream for today? We've done about an hour. I can carry on if people have got some comments and questions they want to go through. Because this is probably going to be the only stream today. But I think tonight is going to be a bit of a night off. There will be a lot more content happening next week from like Tuesday onwards. And there will be a few more collaborations happening with a couple of channels, hopefully in the near future as well. Once things are sorted out, I can let people know that one. I don't think there'll be a watch long for the night's one. But if you've got some comments or questions you want to get in, then let's have a look at it. Well, I'll go through the chat. I do want to actually have a look at the poll as well as this one. So there's very rarely, yeah, there is. It's very rarely a like for like replacement, isn't it? Like very, very rarely like for like replacement. People watching as well, we're kind of stuck on 850 subscribers. If you're able to push that number up, then please subscribe to the channel. At the moment, it's two-thirds of people are voting for Sangari at 50 million. So please make sure you get involved in that poll as well. We want to get as many votes as possible in this one, just to see what people are thinking. And if you've got any questions, please, this is your opportunity to get them in. I'll be live for a little bit longer and see how it goes. If the stream gets a bit busier, we might stay for a bit longer, but we'll see how it goes. Kate's saying you're you seem quite positive about this midfield. So what Sangare Bruno is a solid top four midfield, and we saved 20 to 25 on Fernandes, which we can use on a left back. I think Sangare is cheap actually. If we spent £50 million on Sangare, and again we need to get these deals right. We have spent £50 million on midfielders in the past like Fred and like Agate, and they've not worked out too well. So you'd have to be hopefully Sangare will work out better and Edison, but it wouldn't feel like the most exciting signings, would it? It wouldn't feel like Man United have spent very big on midfield and got the best in class. So I think we'd have to be optimistic, but it would feel a little bit. It's going to feel a bit underwhelming if we get those two players. And we should have a look at Adam Wharton, says Kevin. Yeah, I think we could be looking at. I think we could be looking at Adam Wharton, or have done in the past. But Adam Wharton's got a price of about what? How much is he going to cost? Like Crystal Palace is saying 100 million. I don't think that's going to be. I don't think that's going to be realistic for Man United to spend 100 million pounds on Adam Wharton, and maybe that price will have to come down. We'll have to see. Yeah, the price for Premier League players has gone a bit astronomical, isn't it? And it seems to be something that's happened. I don't know. Maybe this is a recent thing where we're seeing this happen because, and maybe the reason is going to be that you're looking at the financial power that the Premier League teams have got. It seems to be pushing prices up for everybody, and this is something that the fact it's happening. It's not even a Man United tax anymore, is it? Like, in the past, we used to spend big money, and you think this is a Man United tax. Now it seems to be that every team is being forced to pay that sort of tax. It's become a bit ridiculous, and it is meaning that with Manchester United, you have to start looking outside the Premier League and seeing what other options are available. So, as Kate said, you'd like to sign Tonali or Fernandez, but the price being quoted are ludicrous. So you're saying it's not worth it. And yeah, I think some of the prices are becoming, a bit ridiculous, aren't they? What has Ben Jacobs confirmed? But didn't Ben Jacobs say a few things about Lewis Hall, and people were not happy with that? I don't know. I think Ben Jacobs has been saying a few things which are not necessarily 100% confirmed, and people have been talking about this one as well. So let's have a look at the poll and see if now, are Man United fans now. I know people voting today seem to be moving away from Premier League players and looking at better options. So Sangari, let's close that vote. So best option, Sangari, 50 million, or Fernandez, 70 million. So 32 votes, a decent snapshot of Man United fans, and it looks like two-thirds of people are in favour of Sangari for 50 million. So is the reason for that because you want to get more spent on the rest of the team? I would say for me, at that sort of price, I think that Sangari is a bit more risky because he's never played in the Premier League. So for me, it's kind of 50-50 over the best deals. I wouldn't mind Man United getting both those deals. If we got Fernandez, if we had an option of Fernandez plus Alex Scott, and they're both about £70 million, or Fernandez plus Sangari, I would go for Fernandez plus Sangari because I think it's like Alex Scott's going to be £20 million more expensive. And I think Sangari is a really good player, but it's a bit of a judgment call, isn't it? At this point in time, it's not easy to kind of predict, or it's not easy to make a case of why these players have been more expensive. It's okay. Good to see Ben Jacobs like getting some stuff right though. United Strand. Good to see he's on the money. Genghis is saying again. I have to be careful what I'm saying here. Say Jacobs makes it up as he goes along. He's happy getting his appearance money. He'll say any waffle to keep Beth happy. Says I did actually. I said on a different channel earlier today. I called him Waffly Ben. I don't think Ben Jacobs ever actually says too much. If you remember Ben Jacobs being asked last season, do you remember the Bruno Fernandes to Saudi Arabia stories and Bruno Fernandes Saudi Pro League stuff about £200 million? And Ben Jacobs pretty much said nothing for about 2 weeks and just said, Saudi Pro League clubs have got lots of money. Yeah, we know that there is going to be an offer. We know, but I don't think he like. There's nothing wrong with what he's saying. I just don't think he always. I think maybe he's over. What's the word? Maybe there's too much overexposure, and there's not enough information out there to do as many streams as he does. Possibly, it's a bit like Fabrizio. If you do something every single day, you're going to end up repeating yourself as well. Nice fan saying we were promised best in class. Yeah, we were promised best in class, weren't we? And it's at the moment it's not materializing, is it? So I can't say anything other than that. It's not materialized. But the best in class is not going to be. Good to see. We just need David Ornstein to confirm it. I mean, I could have told you guys about an hour ago it's Friday, but again, I don't have quite the pull that Romano does to confirm that one as well. Um, okay, so if anyone's got any football questions, I'll stay live for like another 15 minutes and then we'll have to call it a day, I think. Too many is staying at Real Madrid. I think that's pretty much confirmed as well. Jono says, do I think Tonali could be number three midfielder? Then at the moment, I'll just say, Jono, at the moment, I don't really. If anyone else has seen anything new, then let me know. But I've not seen anything I've not seen anything new about Tonali for, I don't know, ages actually. So the media seems to be all about Matheus Fernandes. It seems to be looking at Lewis Hall. And when you look at the information about Lewis Hall, and he keeps being talked about, I think the more information you see about Lewis Hall, the more I think Tonali's less likely. I mean, again, we don't know, Jono. It could be that Man United suddenly decide to go for. Uh, what if Newcastle? Newcastle need to sell Tonali. Tonali wants to leave. What if Newcastle lower the price? Maybe it becomes, maybe it becomes something happening then. So I don't know. Maybe like I'm not going to say Tonali definitely wouldn't be, but Tonali seems to be just not talked about. So if if Man United are looking at other options and Tonali price comes down, maybe there's deal to be done there. So I would say, Jono, we're probably just going to have to wait and see if anything comes out about Tonali. I just don't know at this point in time. So um, yeah, it has gone very quiet on Tonali. It has gone very quiet. But again, I think with Tonali, if something happens, it was reported about a month ago, wasn't it, that Man United were close to agreeing terms with Tonali at the same time we agreed terms with Edison. So I think player to club would be no problem. But I don't think I think Newcastle just want too much money. That's the only situation. That's the only thing that's kind of making this deal unlikely to happen. Newcastle just want too much money. So I'd say we only need to finish top four. Okay, but I don't think top four should be a target though. Like Man United need to get the best possible players in, don't we? Like if Man United finish top four next season, then what will people think? Like, it's not going to be something to. If the gap between Man United and whoever wins the Premier League next season increases, then that's going to be disappointing because it's going to feel like have we got closer? And if we look at Man City strengthening because they're going to get Anderson, and we look at Arsenal, what if Arsenal get Tonali, and we see Man City get Anderson and Man United buy I know Sangari, Edison, and that's it from midfield. When we look at it and think, actually, are we ever going to be catching? Are we ever going to close the gap? We need to actually start buying some of these players that other clubs are trying to get. So I think trying to finish top four is that finishing top four is a minimum, but it's not. It can't be the objective. Like, the objective's got to be to try and win the Premier League. Like whether it's next season or the year after or the year after that. That I think the minimum expectation has got to be top four. But you also have to look that what if teams below us, like last season, what if teams like Villa strengthen and Liverpool are going to be improved? So top four is no guarantee. You got to make sure you keep pushing the team in the right direction. It's very tricky, like very tricky. So there's zero chance. Come on, there's not. I'm not going to say we've got a good chance, but there's not zero chance, is there? You have to put your team in a position where you can. What happens if next season City get relegated and Arsenal collapse a bit? We have to be ready, don't we? Yeah, no, Tonali was talked about loads, wasn't he? Um, no, they're going for players. Man City are going for players that are, ready to go, aren't they? When do I think United will start selling out unwanted players sooner, later, or more loan outs? I did see something actually. I think Yanni posted something very early on in the stream, and he posted saying, "What was it?" So, Yanni said the Trabzonspor, either director or someone in charge of Trabzonspor, said don't worry about Tonali. Don't worry about Anana. He's going to be a Trabzonspor player next season. So I think with Anana, I don't know if it's going to be a fee or whatever happens. I don't think Anana will be back at the club, and I think he will be at Trabzonspor. So I don't know what's going to be happening regarding that one. And big up to you, Rob. Just going a bit earlier for a couple of days, probably back to normal schedule from next week. But a bit of an earlier stream today. We've been talking about Matheus Fernandes. Looks like incoming bid. Big up to you, Danny, as well. You missed the boat, Danny. Sangare won by so like two-thirds majority over MATEUS Fernandes. We put a price of 70 on about 70 on Fernandez, about 50 on Sangari, just to kind of say that okay, it's going to be a bit of a cheaper price there. So a bit of a cheaper price. Yeah, Rob, I think we're on the same wavelength because I was saying I wasn't joking when I was saying it. I think Agate actually plays quite well for his national team. This could be a positive for Man United that if Anderson does, say if Agate does quite well for Uruguay, which I think you, given I'm not sure who's in their league, who's in their group, but I think Uruguay will do okay. But the World Cup has got a bit more padding this season, hasn't it? So there's a few more teams that are not amazing. So I think Uruguay might do okay, and Agati might look fine, and that might be the green light for a few clubs around Europe to go. Actually, let's get Agati in. He could be worth what Man United want for like 25, 30 million pounds. So I think Agati will get sold, and I think we'll see. Also, we'll be able to sell. Who's the other player? Xerxes will be able to be sold as well. So I think we're going to be looking at Agate playing okay for this country. Off he goes and we get some money in. So I don't see that being a big problem at all. By Anderson and Hall, Edison, we've got 16 players instead of 13, enough to win the league and get far in three cups. So I think Anderson might be like almost game over, real like 120, 125 going to City. And Edison, we've obviously got. I think if you're looking at probably looking at Fernandez or Sangare or Alex Scott as the options plus Hall possibly. I mean, Hall still feels like a bit of an unlikely one given the price tag as well. And say, but you're saying that's enough to win the league. I don't know. Some people would disagree and say we have to have at least get what we got last season, and that's third. So fourth would be going backwards as Jim. I mean, we've got the Champions League stuff as well, which we can factor in, but you've got to be trying to. Do I think 250 is enough to challenge for a title, enough for a title challenge? Probably not actually. Like probably not. If we're looking at trying to buy three midfield players in, I think that's going to cost the best part of like 180, 200 million anyway, unless we start doing very cheap deals. So, um, Danny B says we should be buying both. Yeah, that's what somebody said actually. Who was it that said it? Was it United Strand or somebody else said we should be buying both of those? So Edison, Fernandez plus Sangare. And maybe that's going to be one where, to be honest, I wouldn't have necessarily predicted this because that would be two non-Premier League players, but financial wise, money wise, that those deals do make quite a lot of sense. We've got a bit of experience. We don't have necessarily the Champions League experience we want, but now we've got some good players in there. So, do you want to win challenge for the league next season or finish top four because there's a budget for each objective? I think with a title budget that you've got to be looking at that Man United have to make sure they have to make sure that we cannot finish outside the top four, regardless of what happens. Like completely regardless of what happens. Um, a big up to you, Tunku. Good to see you in the chat. Says, I think we ought to stay away from big name players. Going for character is more important as well. So let's have a look at I think that's definitely. I think in terms of this one, United need to construct a team, don't we? So when we're looking at Galacticos, I think Galacticos, it maybe depends on like if £100 million player comes in, and you can get the same effect on the team performance from a £70 million player, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So I can see the logic in that one as well. You've got to get the right character players in. So I just want to show you guys something that some of you are aware of. Some people are, yeah, will definitely not be aware of. Let me just, so hopefully this works okay. Right. So can people see the map? I've talked about this map a few times. This is kind of the badged version based on people that watch the channel at the moment. So we've got a lot of people in the UK. We've got Cody and we've got Randy in South Africa down there. We've got quite a few people in Canada and USA as well. So if you're not on the map, you probably know if you're not on the map. Let me know your location and we can add you to that map if you want to be on the map. That is obviously. Um, but this is the map I was talking about. It used to have a few more pins in when it's Red Devil United. We've got a few less as well. So who's in Slovenia? I think it's we've probably got Dora in Croatia on the map as well. So Kate Cadet says, "Where's your pin?" I'm not sure. Okay, so it's color coded a little bit as well. So if you're a moderator, you'll be in green. If you're a channel member, you're in yellow. And if you're someone I know in the comments as well, and we've added you in, you're going to be red. I think I've got one in my location, but we can zoom in a bit. So I will say that if you want to be on the map, this is your chance to let me know where your location is and that people at Bilal, you're already in there for sure. So that's so if someone actually where's it Tunku, you're in a different location. So let me just go through the comments as well. So I'm trying to find it. If you can just repost it, then I can find the comments. Genghis, yeah, you're probably not on there actually. Probably not on there. I can add cake off stream, but let me find out where. So so do you want to put your name as Tonka in there? Melbourne, Australia. That's a good one. So let's get you on the map. So let's see. So we're gonna put you in Melbourne, Australia. Let me double check something. Yeah, so I'll put you. So there. This is kind of how it works. Hopefully, I've not done it for quite a long time, but there you should now be there. So that pin represents actually you and Kenny are both in Australia. So there you are. So if anyone else wants to be on the map, this is something that hopefully just grows over time, and it's just a way of showing how the community is growing as well. So if you want to be on the map, then let me go back to this one. I'll go through the comments. I'll put maybe a couple of people on there if you want to be on there, but it's definitely you're on there already. Real, you're on there already because I knew where you were. And for people I don't know, I did see someone saying they're from Ireland. If you just let me know, like if you want to be specific, that's fine. But I'll just make the map function slightly. So let me go back to this stream. So Mr. B said, "Come on, Mr. B. Is Jarvis or Helgi there?" So um, no, I think Helgi is in there, but I don't think Jarvis is in there. So Kevin, I'll put Kevin in anywhere in Ireland or just in Ireland generally. So I'll do a few, but it takes me quite a long time, unfortunately. So Ireland for you. Mr. B, I'm going to put you in Brentford. Do you want to be in Brentford's training ground? Where is it? Brentford Football Club. That will do. Brentford, UK. Yeah, but hopefully that makes sense. So this map is something that's been growing on as well. There is a Norway pin. I believe that is Helgi as well. So Is this where you're from? Is this a place then, Danny? Yeah. Is that where you're from, Danny? I think Danny B, I think actually you're in USA, aren't you? I think there's a pin in there for you already. So I think that's already been done. So I'll see. I think that might be the enough map action for today, just to show people that there is a map and we will add people to it, but I need to get a bit smoother at doing the additions to it. So I put a few new people in there today. Yeah, Boston. I got you in Boston. So I got you that one. No, so you're already on it as well. So what I'll do is I'll gradually add a few people on there, maybe once a week. But if you leave comments on the video, Cyprus. Actually, I'll put you on then. So Limassol, Cyprus, because that'll be a new country as well. So let's see. Let's see what name is it as well. So let's get them back on. This will be the last one, so I'll need to wrap up the stream then. But Limassol, Cyprus. So what's a bit of a shame is we did used to have a few people in South America, so we can zoom in a little bit and see some of the people. So we got yeah Cyprus there. We got a new flag. We lost unfortunately we lost a couple of people from Spain and Germany last time. There is a lot of people in the UK and Ireland at the moment. We've got one in Norway, but hopefully again this is a community thing. Hopefully people like it. It's something that we did do a while ago on Red Dead United as well. Jolly. Are these different accounts? Then I'll do Jolly, and we might do a few different ones next time. So Jolly says, okay, I'll put Jolly in, and that'll be the last one then. Yeah. One kind of final note as well. If you're trolling, okay, if you people that are trolling, if you're trolling, you just will not be involved as well. So you will not be involved on the map. And if that's the case, then I think people, if you find trolling amusing, then unfortunately you're going to get blocked from the channel. So I'd say for people that like Lumen in particular, if you cause moderators problems, then your time on here will be shortly coming into an end. So you got a choice: cooperate, or you'll just be disappearing. If anyone's got any final comments, then get them in. That's just a general point. I'm not singling anybody out, but people that do think it's a think that think it's acceptable to harass people in the comments will be disappearing as well. So just a note: if you keep asking questions or keep targeting people that are moderating the chat, you will be disappearing from the conversation and you won't be coming back. Just a polite warning to people. Any final comments before we go? People have gone quite quiet. There's probably going to be, and there might be a stream tomorrow, but there will be limited streams on the channel for the next few days for different reasons. But there will be probably a bit of World Cup content coming out on the weekend. But there might be slightly less Manchester United streams. That's all I'll say. Um, no show this evening, Stephanie. No show this evening. There's G Wolf is busy. I'm unavailable, so no stream tonight, but something tomorrow morning. I think something tomorrow at some point, and then there will be the World Cup coverage as well, which we'll be doing in the evening. There may be some crazy time streams, but we'll have to see regarding that one as well. Well, guys, thank you for watching. People that watch the channel as well, appreciate everybody that's a channel member. Appreciate everybody also the moderators. Great job as always. And people watching, I know there's going to be lots of speculation about what Man United are going to do. Lots of people concerned about Man United maybe not moving in the right direction. I suppose that there's nothing we can do apart from just report things that happen as and when they happen. If there is something that's breaking news, and I can do something that's a short-term stream, I will do something like that. But again, a lot of it depends on limited availability for myself because there's other things going on until next Monday, Tuesday time, and limited availability for some guest hosts because again they've got other family stuff going on. It's birthdays and things. It's not bad stuff. It's people who've got other things to do. But thanks everybody for in the chat, and great to see you guys. Enjoy the World Cup matches. If you're watching that competition, we'll try and cover a bit as well. There is a pinned link in the comments to other socials if you on TikTok or other things as well. Get involved with the community and the Discord as well. Over 80 people in there. Get involved and have a great rest of your weekend, guys. So whatever you're doing, whether you're in the UK or the world, as we saw on the map, just to have a good weekend. And we'll catch you guys in the next stream.